Hey, I'm Jon Thelen. Today I'm Fish Ed. I'm out on Devil's Lake, first ice perch fishing. This is one of the best places you can go in the world to catch perch day in and day out, but I'll tell you what, first ice out here, it can just be magical. There's some tips and tricks though, and we'll talk about it today. We'll talk a little bit about location, how to find these fish, and then how to get them caught when it's time to drop that line in the water. Stay right where you're at. Fish Ed's coming up. There he is, got him. Ooh, that feels like a great jumbo right there to start our day. Man, I'll tell you, I just love jumbo perch fishing. We're out on Devil's Lake. I don't know where else you can go in the world that has better jumbo perch fishing than right here. Look at that though. That's not what we were starting our day looking for, but it just goes to show you there's a whole combination of fish here. We're gonna get them throughout the day. That little walleye, he's cruising this same flat as these perch because you know what? They're all eating. That's the deal when they're on a flat like this at this time of the year. These fish are just cruising and eating, and they'll cruise all over. You'll get a little pile of perch come through. You'll get a few walleyes come through because they're all eating those minnows. I'll get back down there and see if we can find that perch we're after here. Pile of them up here now. These have got to be perch because they're all together. There he is right there, got him. You can tell this is a good pile of fish. And there were 3 or 4 of them there. And most of the time, when you see 3 or 4 of them like that, they're perch. You know, there's going to be some walleyes mixed in out here, but there won't be piles of walleyes that come up on us like these perch. These perch right here, jumbos like this one, he's traveling with buddies. And part of that is because when he was little, he had to run for his life. And fish, you know, like perch, they learn to school. And they school simply because at one time in their life, they had to make sure they were together because it provided safety. So when you can see a pile of them like that come up on the graph, most of the time, that's going to be a school of perch. And there were 3, 4 of them there. We'll get right back down here, see if we can get another one. You know, one of the things you got to remember too with perch fishing is when you pull one out like that, doggone it, you got to get back down there as quick as you can. And here's why. These perch, they're roaming. They're looking for something to eat. They're cruising all over. And I'll tell you, if you take too much time getting back down there, they'll actually just move on you. And then you got to wait for that next school to come by. So you'll notice today, I'm going to fish fast. I mean, when we catch fish, I'm going to get right back down there. I'm going to fish fast. Try to make sure that we capitalize on every school of fish that comes through. Maybe getting 2, maybe getting 3, but trying to make sure we don't just pick off the one, we get multiples. Come on, buddy. Here comes another one. There's 5, 6, 7 of them down there. There he is. That's a good one too. Oh yeah, that's a good fish. I'll tell you right now, this might even be a little bit better one. Yeah, it's a good fish. Hopefully it's not a little walleye. Hopefully it's a jumbo. Feels like a good one. Oh yeah, look at this one. Wow, look at that. Ooh, geez, come here, dude. I don't want to lose that one. What an awesome fish. Look at that. That's a Devil's Lake jumbo. That's what you can get a ton of out here. You know, this early ice deal, look at that, hooked right in the snout, right where you want to get them. Look at that. This early ice deal out here, though, let me tell you a little bit about locations and what you want to do to catch fish here. All I'm looking for is I'm looking for flats. This is the time of the year where they haven't gone super deep yet. Now your walleyes, for the most part, there'll be walleyes roaming out on these flats, but a lot of times they'll be a little bit smaller fish. Your better walleyes are up in that shallower water right now. Perch, they'll take up residence on early ice, usually in that mid-range stuff. I'm fishing 23, 24 feet of water out here, and all this is a flat. But what I'm looking for, and what I'm 9 times out of 10 looking for with perch, is I really like fishing areas where there might be structure nearby, hard bottom structure, but I'm fishing soft bottom. And I'm fishing soft bottom because they spend so much of their life eating larvae, eating bugs, eating that type of stuff, and that hatches out in the soft bottom. So one of the keys is finding those mid-range areas, but also understanding that you want to find those mid-range areas with soft bottoms. If you find that, it can be just a gold mine. And then one of the things you got to do when you're fishing these flats too is have a little bit of patience. You know, I've sat for a little bit here and there this morning without catching a few fish. And I got to sit for a little bit. Here comes another one right away. But once these fish cycle through to you through this flat, all of a sudden it's just one after another. And that's what we got going on right now, is there's fish all over this thing. And they've cycled their way through to me. Now, is it a deal that maybe some of them just turned on? Could be. But I think a lot of times they've just moved, they've gotten here, and now it's my turn to catch them for a little bit. You know, when you look at Devil's Lake and you think about different types of baits you can use out here, part of what makes these small tungsten jigs and this tungsten toad or, you know, a bug or an ice worm or even a tungsten fat boy so effective is this lake is full of these freshwater shrimp. And these fish will eat these small jigs one after another because it's in that same size range as what that shrimp is. There's one right there. And that's why we fish so many small jigs out here. And you know, the tungsten just allows us to get down fast. I mean, I'm ripping down there and there's a school of fish down there. You don't want to be up and out of the water for long. You want to be able to get right back down there. So this is really the perfect example of, you know, when and why tungsten is just so important. You can get back down there fast, keep a school going. You're fishing something really small, you can deliver some live bait on it. It's just deadly. There he is, got him. Ooh, that feels like a pretty good one. Yeah, I think that one might be, well, man, there's just so many of them in here. I mean, this is a good fish. This is a really good one. I think, you know, one thing about perch is they're just so strong. You know, you look at a perch, and when he gets wound up, oh yeah, look at this one, another good one. Look at that. Tangled up in that transducer, let's just flop him up here because he got spinning around in circles on me. What an awesome perch. Holy smokes. That's cool right there. But you know, perch versus panfish, look at that, flopped himself right into that bucket for me. Versus other panfish, I'll tell you, perch are just so strong. You know, not only do they have that bony mouth, but holy smokes, they got shoulders on them and they fight. I mean, there's times you'll sit here with some of these jumbos and you'll swear that you're fighting a small walleye and up just comes another 12-inch perch. I mean, it's just a cool fish as far as I'm concerned. They fight hard, they taste great. You know, that's why we're keeping some today. We're going to have a great meal tonight. And you know what? They're usually, when you get on them like this, they're pretty willing participants because they're eating. I mean, that's what they're doing. Perch spend a lot of their winter just eating, and they get more exposed because they get out of those weeds a little bit, get a little bit easier to catch. Here come a couple up to meet me, man. I mean, it's just automatic right now. There's so many fish here. It's just crazy. Look at that. You know, one of the things that I really want you to notice is how little I'm jigging when I'm jigging. This is a big perch. When I'm jigging with a tungsten jig, I am just barely moving that rod tip. I mean, it's almost just like a little bounce. Look at this one, another giant. Look at that, what a great fish. But it is such a subtle little bounce that you would barely know it's moving down there. But because that rod tip's moving, and the line is so straight because of the weight. See, with tungsten, you know, one of the things is, yeah, you'll get down fast, but your line is so straight because of that weight that you don't need to put much movement on that rod tip to move that jig, and you really don't want to. If you put too much movement down there, a lot of times you'll just spook panfish off, you know, whether it be crappies, bluegills especially, and even perch, even jumbo perch, they'll get a little spooked off sometimes. So what I'll do is I'm barely moving that tip. And that goes back again to really liking that soft-tipped rod. because as I'm moving this rod tip, it's just kind of a subtle bounce. It's barely moving that jig, but it's actually moving it more than you think down there because your line is so perfectly straight because you got that weight. Another one down there going to come roaring up here as soon as this thing gets into range. Right up. There he is, got him. That one I was almost able to anticipate as he came flying up. I mean, you just knew there was no way he was coming up and not hitting it. Feels like another good jumbo. Look at that. Awesome way to wrap it up. Look at that. Snap my line off. He told me we're done. You know, I'll tell you what. This is some fun fishing out here on Devil's Lake for jumbo perch. And fish like that one, man, I'll tell you what, they're just waiting. And they're plentiful out here. Come on out here with some small tungsten jigs. You know, these Lindy Tungsten toads are about as good as they get. Pick up size 10. You want that bigger hook, and come on out, set up on some of these flats. This early ice is pretty tough to beat. That's awesome right there.